Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFirio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by the Ground Control Cyclops Brewer from Voga Coffee, revolutionizing batch brew coffee, truly. With the SCA award-winning technology, the machine allows you to extract incredible ranges of flavors from your coffee, maybe some that you've never tasted before, and give you ultimately control over each blend and origin that you put into it. So it's leveling up the quality expectation for batch brew coffee, and it can make tea, batch diced lattes, batch cold brew. So it offers you not only next level quality, but versatility. And you can check this out, the Ground Control Cyclops Brewer, over at groundcontrol.coffee. If you want quality, versatility, and real differentiation in your coffee shop, then you need to look into getting a Ground Control Cyclops Brewer for your cafe. Go check them out over at groundcontrol.coffee. Today's episode is also brought to you by La Marzocco, who has been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. And the espresso machine is the heart of your business. And you want to get a machine that has a history of consistency, innovation, and truly a company that listens to their customers to serve them well and help them be successful in retail coffee. This is La Marzocco in a nutshell. Great example is the KB90 espresso machine that introduced straight-in locking portafilters for ergonomics, important for baristas, built-in scales for consistency, auto flush for cleanliness, and that's just one example of many of how La Marzocco comes alongside the retail coffee community globally and serves them with the machines that they make. So La Marzocco is available to help you get the right piece of equipment for your store. All you need to do is reach out to their salespeople over at info@lamarzocousa.com and definitely check out their website over at lamarzocousa.com. Okay, everyone. Well, at Coffee Fest in Portland recently, I was talking to one of the Latte artists who was asking me about any kind of books I would recommend for, better performance, increasing their skill and things like that. And I came up with two books, and one was the book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, and the other one was called With Winning in Mind by Lonnie Basham. And the reason I recommended those books to him is one is very much focused on performance mindset. That's the book With Winning in Mind. And the other is essentially how to get there. Both of them teach you techniques. The Atomic Habits book by James Clear talks about how habits are developed and formed, and it's probably the best book on habits ever written, largely because it takes from so many different traditions and distills them into very easy to understand steps and explains the background of each one of those philosophies on habit formation. But I could break it down into these two quotes. Here's one from Atomic Habits. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become, and no single action will transform your beliefs, but as a vote builds up, so does the evidence of your new identity. And that's what I told this latte artist initially, was that it's not so much about how you can practice your latte art in order to do good in latte art. And this would also be true for anybody competing in barista competitions, tasting competitions, Brewer's Cup, anything that's competitive, where you're in a time-constrained platform doing a task and being judged against other people doing the same thing. Now, you can practice that routine over and over and over again. But if you show up differently to that practice session than you do in your everyday life, it's going to be hard for your brain to accept that as the norm when the pressure is on. Just like it's hard to do fancy moves if you're going to try to do karate in a street fight, you'd have to have really lived and breathed that martial art in order for that to be second nature. So James Clear hits on this idea of identity and developing an identity with each decision you make in your life. And my thought on that to him was, you have to think about the kind of things that you need to be successful on the stage, and then practice them in the mundane areas of your life. How you show up to brush your teeth before bed, how you get things out of the fridge. There are habits that you have to make a part of your everyday life in order for those things to show up under pressure. The reason why is because under pressure, the reasoning part of our brains shuts down, and that instinctual fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain takes over. And the most base instincts that we have will be the things that we do. So our job, if we want to show up under pressure, is to show up when there isn't pressure. Not to manufacture pressure, but to simply, like James Clear says, take an action and make that action intentional as a way to vote for the kind of person you want to be. So let's say that I am pouring milk for latte art. How would this look if I'm doing dishes? Well, I want to be more methodical about the way I do dishes and move my hands. My hand-eye coordination when I move liquid around ceramic might be improved if I decide to do dishes a little bit more mindfully, if I pour things out a little bit more, gracefully when I'm doing them. Because as inconsequential as it might be to wash a cup and just throw the water out of the cup into the sink, my hand and my brain are going to associate that somehow when it's time for me to pour that design on the stage. And so I want to make sure that that's who I am. I'm going to show up and I'm going to have that habit already formed, and I'm not going to have any other conflicting information. It's just going to be like me to do that because that's who I am. And that brings me to the book With Winning in Mind by Lonnie Basham. A quote from there is that the principle of balance is when the conscious, subconscious, and self-image are all balanced and working together, then good performance is easy. A practice that Lonnie has, that he talks about in the book, is that he'll tell himself, it's like me to win. This is who I am. There's an assumption he has that this is kind of my thing, to win. Rather than saying, I'm a loser who's going to get lucky to win, how do you think you're going to show up if you have that mentality? So if you combine these two ideas together, what you get is a practice of, if you want to do better in latte art or management, owning a coffee shop, whatever specific area you intend to improve in, take the behaviors and actions that you know are necessary for doing well and find ways to incorporate them into your everyday activities that you normally don't think about. And that way you'll have that balance of the subconscious, the conscious, and your self-image. When you show up the day, yeah, there'll be pressure. Yeah, your brain might default to some instincts, but now those instincts are informed by what you want, and not just a grab bag of, of unconscious habits that we've developed over time. So how you show up in life will be how you show up at work. I hope that is helpful for you no matter what your pursuit is. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break. From keys to the shop.